What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American Politics, back in with a new video. We got some breaking news out of the great state of North Carolina. Yep, the 2024 governor's race is starting to pick up significant steam as the first major Republican candidate has just announced his candidacy for the governorship. State Treasurer Dale Folwell has just announced he will be running to seek the governorship against most likely Democrat Josh Stein, all right, the Attorney General of the state of North Carolina, who is a Democrat. So we have our first major candidate who just announced his candidacy. Now, here's the thing, though. Obviously, a lot of people know I am supporting a certain other person, but we're going to be doing a deep dive into can Republicans win this race, and overall, who's the better option. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter account in the description down below. Guys, follow Real American Politics. We got to gain some followers again, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $3 a month, you can join Real American Politics, which, if you do that, it helps support the daily content we all know and love. You love the daily content? Well, that is the best way to support it. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Alright, everybody, let's get into it. So, there's been a lot of discussion about the North Carolina governor's race. And we have our first major Democrat, and the state treasurer, Dale Folwell. Now, let me be clear. I'm not going to attack him today. I'm not saying that he would lose or he's a terrible candidate, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, guys, can we just stop some of this nonsense people are spewing about this race? Because we'll get to it in a little bit. But he is announcing his candidacy, and his statement was the root word of governor is to govern. And what that means is to be a CEO of the biggest business in the state. Folwell told the AP in the interview. And based on my track record of saving lives, minds, and money, I'm uniquely qualified to do that. Excuse my messed up English for a minute there. But yeah, so he's pretty much saying he's running for the governor's race. Now, here's the thing, all right? I'm not saying he's a bad candidate. I'm not saying any of that. I really don't know enough about him. From what I've seen, though, he's all right. He's not the worst in the world, but he's not, anything special. He's not like some wowzer. And you look at the wiki page, there's already one other candidate that his announcement's pending. You know him, the legend himself, Big Rob, or Mark Robinson, whatever you want to call him, the Giga Chad of old Giga Chads. Look, you want somebody you can listen to on repeat for a while? Listen to any time this guy speaks. He is by far one of the best public speakers in politics right now. He could go into an old black church, and he's done this, rail about how the Democrats support transgenderism, supports this, this, and this. And the crowd, claps in support of him, yeah, those damn Democrats. I'm not even joking, look it up. The dude knows how to speak to voters. He is one of the best public speakers I've ever seen. He tells it as it is. And a lot of people hate him on the right because he's too conservative, yada, yada, yada. He's a racist, yada, yada. It's funny they're calling him racist because, well, yeah. I mean, some of them were saying that he hates black people. It's like, are you freaking kidding me right now? But any other case, Mark Robinson's running for the governorship, and you look at the polling, which I know it is polling data, he's going to win the nomination. I don't know why Folwell's running. I really don't. I mean, he's not bad, but it's like, why? The party's already old, but saying we want Robinson as governor, all right? It's like, I don't know what you're setting yourself up for. A congressional run, maybe? Even then, it's like, just prepare a congressional run then. Either way, Mark Robinson's my choice. Now, a lot of people are saying he is somehow unelectable, yada, 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 because, these scandals on his wiki page. Alright, let's get into it. So, people are saying that he's unelectable because he's made statements in the past, right, about Obama, about... I'm not even going to read this part because YouTube, but it's like, okay, let's think this logically for a second. How is he unelectable? Can you explain to me how he is an unelectable candidate? Firstly, in the 2020 lieutenant governor's race, he won by almost 3.5%. This was of the main offices, governor race, the attorney general race, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, state treasurer, Senate race, etc. Of the major statewide races in 2020, he was the second highest performing Republican. The second. When all these scandals hit, people are just making it sound like the scandals came out yesterday. People knew about this then. This clown Democrat ran heavily on these past remarks by Robinson. Look it up. Even says on the wiki page they ran on nothing but these statements. So why is he suddenly unelectable? And people are saying that, oh, well, people don't pay attention to lieutenant governor's races. Look, you could make an argument that people don't pay as much attention to a lower statewide office, fine. But people are paying attention just as much to a lieutenant governor's race as a governor's race. They just are, because guess what? He's the second highest office. So this idea that somehow it's automatically unelectable since he's running for essentially the same office? What? Now it's important? If it didn't hurt him then, which mind you, he performed the second best of any people, and people are going to say turnout, the turnout was, I think, the third highest of any of the statewide races in 2020. And that was a high turnout election. Now, of course, the loser right is consolidating behind Falwell, the state treasurer. But I have I can't get this out of my head. Why every single person on the establishment right, the loser right, whatever, they always want state treasurer candidates. Guys, yes, they perform the best, but guess what? Every state, even Vermont, of the statewide offices, the state treasurer has always been a more Republican-leaning office. Look it up. Look at the past 10 years. Nearly every single statewide office in 2022, the state treasurer outran the Republican candidates by a lot. And not just in some states, in every single instance. They nearly outran nearly every single other office. So, this idea that he won by a lot, yes, it's impressive he won by around 5 points when Trump won the state by around 2. But that doesn't automatically make him an electoral juggernaut when this seat, mind you, nationally has always been more Republican favorable. Go to Vermont, look up 2022 Vermont state treasurer race. The Republican got like 38% of the vote. 38% of the vote, something like that. The rest of the ticket was in the low 30s outside of Phil Scott. So, you're going to tell me that a state treasurer candidate did good, even when that's the best performing office nationally for Republicans for state treasurer offices. That's their best position everywhere for the major race. I'm not saying, mine inspector of Joe County or whatever. I'm talking about the big statewide offices. And you look here, Falwell, he won by a little bit more, but look at this. He had 2.8 million votes, or 2,812,000 votes. In the lieutenant governor's race, Robinson had 2,800,000 votes. So if we just look at 2020 results, they ran nearly identical. Why did he win by a larger percent? Because more people didn't vote for this race. I did the math. Around 80,000 people didn't vote for the state treasurer race, but they voted for the lieutenant governor's race. You could just do basic math. This isn't just my opinion. It's math. So if they're running nearly identical and more people arguably paid attention to the lieutenant governor's race, You're going to tell me now the scandals are going to hurt Robinson? Where was this then? When, look at this, Attorney General against Josh Stein, and I'm saying this flat out. I did the math once again. If this was Josh Stein versus Mark Robinson in 2020, mind you, in 2020, when Stein was an incumbent Attorney General, when he won by about 0.25%, I did the math that if the two ran on the same ticket, right, they had the same turnout, all that stuff, Stein would have lost to Robinson in 2020. Yes, he would have lost to Falwell in Elso. But, okay, if they're both running nearly identical in 2020, and the scandals arguably didn't hurt him at all, well, what's the difference? Why wouldn't you want the most conservative possible option in this state? Mark Robinson, he is the conservative choice. Absolutely. He's super duper conservative. Great on the issues. And you look at any time he speaks, I would say when he's speaking, especially for that, State of the Union, address or whatever he did, that was perfect. The response to what Roy Cooper did, he had a perfect response. Absolutely 10 out of 10. He didn't focus on the culture war stuff. He focused on economics like the inflation rate, healthcare prices, yada, yada, yada. Robinson knows how to talk to people based on the crowd he's talking to. So, yeah, if these two ran nearly identical in 2020, when this race was more watched, you have proof across the board, had the most votes outside the governor's race, and they had the same amount of votes, and people knew about the scandals then. Democrats ran on it, just now it's suddenly Democrats are running a bit more on it. Okay? And Mark Robinson has the unity behind the GOP in North Carolina. The North Carolina GOP, they want this guy. And on top of all of that, if it was Mark Robinson versus Josh Stein in 2020, I did the math again. Robinson won. So I do not get why we shouldn't run Robinson when all the indicators say, okay, he's may underperform by 0.25 point. Okay. If Falwell wins by a point, that would mean Robinson wins by probably 0.7. Who cares at that point? All right, you have a supermajority in the state legislature. You have a state Supreme Court majority. Who cares? You got the governorship with the most conservative option. You're pushing the Overton window. Now, the question is this. Where does Mark Robinson have to do good to win this race? Well, arguably, all he really just needs to do is just get even bud margins in the Raleigh area. That's it. If he gets 10 bud margins, who did worse than Trump in this area, and do, about the same as Trump and Charlotte, he's got it. People making this sound like it's some impossibility. The dude is going to get the base behind him. Plus, with the trends we're seeing in eastern North Carolina, which, mind you, there's a heavy black population. And Mark Robinson did good in this area in 2020. All right? He did fairly solid in this region. So are you going to just tell me that he's unelectable? He is somehow an unelectable candidate? Because he ran a lower statewide office? When the state treasurer office, which is even lower, is somehow a better indicator? I mean, again, where is the proof that Robinson's unelectable? He won already statewide in the second most important office in the North Carolina government, which was the second highest total votes. Just do the math. So anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter account in the description down below, and join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.